Alright guys, welcome back to World Class Happiness Channel. I'm Dominic. I'm going to show you my scars today, which sounds a bit horrible, I know. But I'm going to show you, there is a reason why I'm showing you these scars. Okay, not going to bore you with the little tiny ones where I fell over in the playground when I was little. I will bring up like certain things, like I got a scar on my hand. We can't really see it in this light, poor light really, but I got a scar on my hand from when I got bitten by a dog when I was 3. All right, and what I learned by that is if you go sort of like to grab a dog by the collar and you go hands first or fingers first, they're going to bite you. All right, so that taught me a lesson. And there are various things about my scars that taught me things, not just in how not to get the scar, but you know what I learned from that point after gaining the scar, if you like. Now the second one, I'll just show you this. I don't know if you can see this very well in this light, but you can see it. So I set the light up to make it easier for you to see, but it's not a great light. Now there is a scar running from there all the way up there, and that is where I ruptured the cruciate ligament in my knee, which I did in 2003, and that's quite a big injury in terms of sport anyway. In terms of judo, that put me out for several months, getting on for a year, and not only did that teach me a lesson in terms of where to situate myself on the mat to keep myself a little bit safer, because what had happened was a couple of people had come in from the side and crashed into the side of my leg, which made the leg kind of bend in the wrong direction. But that taught me a lot of other lessons, which I'm not really going to go into. I'm not really going to go into at the moment, because the next bit is the bit that I'm kind of, that I want to talk about, which is after the recovery, and I started to make a comeback. I wasn't quite the same confidence wise. I wasn't quite the same before the injury. I felt like I was on fire, absolutely on fire. Like I really felt in my head that I was the next in line for the #1 spot in Great Britain. The people who were ahead of me were coming to the end of their careers, and I felt like they were, they're slightly older than me, and they were just about to kind of finish, and I was the next in line probably in terms of age and ability, in my opinion. And on the actual day when I did my cruciate ligament, I was on fire in terms of my judo, and then I ruptured my cruciate ligament. So that was a bit of a lesson that things can literally just be taken away from you when everything's going well, and then how to kind of try and change your thinking off the back of that. Now my next sort of big hit, if you like, was after that situation. I started to build up again. I was not in line for the following Olympics because I sort of lost a lot of ground with my knee, and I didn't feel like I was really at the level I should have been. Confidence was a little bit lower, and then I had plans to try and make it back for the 2008 Olympics, try and make it to that one. And I was just starting to get to a stage where I felt like I could do something. And then there was a time, start of the year 2005, start of that year, I just felt like I was just struggling. I didn't have any energy. I'd had food poisoning in the December before, missed the British Championships in the 2004, and I didn't feel quite like I was firing on all cylinders. And then I started getting diarrhea, and it started getting worse and worse and worse throughout the year, and I went to the doctors several times, and they kept fobbing me off with it's irritable bowel syndrome and all that sort of thing. And then it got to a stage where it got so bad that I was on the toilet, and I couldn't get off, and I was literally I went into hospital, and I was in hospital for five weeks. And on the day I went into hospital, I had 30 trips to the toilet. And if you can imagine, over a course of 24 hours, 30 trips, and I'm talking about sit down trips, okay, that's a lot of time. And I didn't sleep for 24 hours, constantly on the toilet, couldn't get off the toilet. And yeah, I had ulcerative colitis, and I was in hospital for a couple of weeks where I was on these drugs, and um, it was really difficult because every time the toilet trips started to slow and were less frequent, the more the more I kind of felt as though, my hopes were kind of, I felt as though I'm ready to go home and I'm getting stronger, and then they'd start to reduce the drugs, the steroids, and straight away again that would just all kick off again, and I'd be struggling again, and then after a good couple of weeks, they kept saying every single day, you're going to go home, you're going to go home, and then it just never happened. And then after 2 weeks, they come in and they told me that they were going to have to operate. Now, that sort of operation entails removing your colon, your large bowel, and I was given a bag in its place. All right, now an ileostomy bag's called. Now I haven't got that now. That has been reversed since then. But at the time, I then obviously had complications in relation to that operation. I had blockages, and I had blood clots, and all sorts of things were going on, and absolute tremendous pain, and there was two or three operations after that. There was an emergency operation because of the blood clot. There were I had a reversal, so obviously I had the bag taken away, and this was over a period of time. But the whole episode was really disturbing at the time, and just talking about it sounds like nothing. It sounds like absolutely nothing, but that was absolutely horrendous for me. Not only had I had to put up with a lot of pain, and a lot of obviously I went from being a fit, healthy, strong person who was physically fit, looked physically fit, and all of a sudden, I'm there having my stomach cut open, and the nurses and the surgeons and stuff said I looked a picture of health. They couldn't really understand why I was kind of struggling so much, and it's because I looked so fit, and because mentally I just didn't want to be ill. I was kind of acting as though I wasn't very ill, and then I had to have my stomach cut open. Had the bag. The surgeon actually said it was the best torso he'd ever cut into, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And that was, big ordeal for me. And then even after that, I come out, and initially the surgeon said it was a successful operation, and then I was I was then dropped. For those of you who read my book, you'll know I was dropped. When I say dropped, what happened was that my bed, which was, I don't know what the angle was, but it went from like this type of angle to flat in a split second, because the surgeon accidentally caught his foot on the lever that kind of sends the bed down quickly in case somebody has a cardiac arrest. And I had my stomach all sewn up or stapled up, and all of a sudden I'd gone from this angle to flat down, and I kind of come out with a few words that maybe don't belong in a hospital, put it that way. Now we can all laugh about it now, it's quite funny, but that was really disturbing at the time. Now, point of me saying this, I'll show you my scar anyway. Show you my scar. Let me show you this. Okay, so there's my scar. I don't even see it. It's not, like I said, it's not the best light. So you can see my scar there, running from there to there. And if you look there, that was where the bag was. That was where I used to have to empty that. All right, because I didn't go to the toilet as normal, and I used to empty that into the toilet. And I lived like that for another sort of 18 months until I had that reversed. And I was doing a bit of judo as well with the bag, and people didn't really know at the time. They just knew I'd been ill. But that was a massive sort of shock really to the system, because it happened quite quickly, and I went from being somebody who wanted to go to the Olympics to somebody who was now really quite ill. And I come out of hospital a lot lighter than I had. I lost a lot of weight. I went from about 65, 66 kilos, which was actually the weight category I used to fight under 66 kilos, and I ended up 53.5 kilos. And if you'd have seen me before I went into hospital, there was nothing on me anyway at 66 kilos or 65 kilos, and I come out and still had a similar body fat, but like completely shrunk, and you know, just looked like a skeleton. I literally couldn't sit on a hard chair, too hard to sit on, too uncomfortable, and it was a massive ordeal for me. And there is, you know, I write about it in my book. It was quite emotional, you know, when I was writing it. Quite emotional, really, just still explaining about it now, even after all these years. However, all right, now this is the point of me saying this, yeah? The point, I'm not just telling you about me because it's about me. This is about you, really. Now, what I want to tell you is that the day when I was told I was going to have the operation, and it was basically going to change my life, that was the worst day of my life, and it still to this day was the worst day of my life. However, looking back now, that day was the best day of my life. It literally changed my thinking around, changed everything around. It just literally, from that day onwards, it was like nothing really compares to that in terms of pain. Nothing compares to that in terms of how things were turned upside down. And I always think back to that. So everything since then has never compared to that. It's never been as bad as that. Now, there are things, of course, there are things that could happen which could be worse than that. But the point I'm making is that, you know, I look back at that now as a helpful thing, because now I look back at that, and that's something that I can always draw upon and sort of think, well, this is bad, but it's not as bad as that. It's nowhere near as bad as that. And I always think, oh, I'm having a bad day. No, actually, this is not a bad day. That's a bad day. Yeah, and I, you know, what I always do now is try and look back on that as the thing that can always bring me out of a bad state or a bad mood. You know, if I ever have an argument with someone, or things aren't going well, or something happens to the car and I break down, you know, I just always think, well, this is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. It's compared to that, is absolutely nothing. Compared to the pain that I went through, it's the most tremendous pain I've ever felt in my life, both physically and mentally, really. The lack of sleep, the loss of weight, the you know, just all the things that seem to just be going wrong one after the other. It was a real ordeal, and I really believe that you could do the same. You know, you can look at all your own scars that you might have, physical scars and mental scars. You know, that some of you might have been through things not necessarily physical in terms of injuries or illnesses. There could be mental scars from abusive relationships, or, you know, something that's gone on with your parents, or something that's gone on with your kids, or whatever it might have been. You know, there could be things that have happened in your life that are, you know, completely traumatic and have been the most awful times or days of your life. But I want you to know that you can use them to your advantage. You can use them to feed off, to be the thing that springboards you to the next level. You know, if something's happened to you which is really bad, you know, you can always use that as the reason why you're not going to be a victim, the reason why, you know, that was bad, and I'm not going to stay in that place. I don't want to be there. I want to be in a completely different place, and that can motivate you to find a way to solve problems and to get on with people and seek out opportunities and stuff. And And yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. For me, it was an illness. For me, it was injuries. For you, it could be all different types of things. It could be death. It could be marriage breakdowns. It could be all sorts. But use your bad times, your worst times, as things that are going to help you to, you know, springboard you to the next level, and basically make your worst day your best day. You know, make it into the day that you actually really appreciate. I would never, you know, I couldn't, for £1 million. Someone actually offered me £1 million. I don't think I could actually go through the time that I spent in hospital again. You know, if they said here's £1 million, just go back and do that again, I would literally not accept it. However, if someone also had said to me, you can kind of go back and change that, and you can kind of maybe kind of go without that, and bypass that time and not have had that situation happen, you know, still, you know, not have these scars and not have had the situation and not have had the experience, and be normal. And I would also turn that down as well, because as much as I don't want to go back and do it again, I actually now love the fact that it's happened to me, because I can always use that to my advantage. And that's what I want you to do, really. That's my message today, is use your worst times or your worst day as your best day, the day that's going to kind of help you out in a lot of other situations. And I'm sure we've all got days and situations like that which we can use to our advantage. You know, some of us worse than others. But the point I'm making, you know, some people say, oh, this has happened to me, so I'm unlucky. This has happened to me, so I'm going to be a victim. But no, sometimes the worse the things are that have happened to you, so basically the more unlucky you've been, if you like, the more lucky you actually are, because you've got more things, and maybe higher level things that you can actually feed off in order to send you up to a high level. So don't ever look at your bad times as the things that are keeping you down. They are the things that can springboard you to the next level. All right, so try and use that to your advantage, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. I do tend to waffle a little bit. Apologies for that. Please, if you're enjoying the messages at least, please subscribe and give the videos a thumbs up. And hopefully I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, guys.